welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultants to surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's guest is very special. His name is Nabil Fanous. He's a cosmetic surgeon and founder of the Canadian Institute of Cosmetic Surgery in downtown Montreal, Canada. I have been to Montreal. It is absolutely the most beautiful city I think I've ever been to. Not easy to get to, I might say, but well worth the effort. So Dr. Fanous is a sought-after speaker at the medical conferences for his tips on how to improve his surgical skills, but he recently gave a talk called Difficult Patients and Dangerous Employees that I want to ask him more about because it contained so many pearls. Dr. Fanous, welcome to Beauty and the Biz.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we have been on the podium a lot together, a lot of different conferences throughout the years. And can you just start by just describing your practice in Canada?
My practice in Canada, it's mostly facial plastics, but I do also some body because I did my fellowship in plastic surgery. So let us say that it's 80% face lifts and noses and facial plastic, other adjunctive techniques, and maybe 20% body work.
By the way, was it always like that? Or as you got older, did you start gravitating more towards face and the maturing patient?
No, it was always like that. But as I got busier, I started selecting what I like to do most. So when I started, I used to do hair transplant, for example. And I used to do liposuction and stuff like that, body liposuction. And as I got busier, I concentrated on 3 techniques, which are my new techniques, actually. I introduced new techniques in 3 main surgery. The nose, my technique is called the ultra closed, which is almost the opposite of the open rhinoplasty. And the facelift is the optimum mobility facelift, which is almost the opposite, the other extreme of deep plane facelift. In terms of I like the least aggressive possible surgeries. The forehead, I have the 003 forehead lift, which is only 3 little incisions, 1.5 centimeter incisions. And the breast augmentation, I have a technique that is mini invasive with a very small incision that has been published in the plastic surgery journals. So these are my main surgery, my main 4 surgeries.
So you're quite contrarian. Do you look at surgery and say, how can I do this differently or better? Or how are you looking at a surgical?
My obsession is how can I do as much as possible with the least surgery and least risk. So with all respect, I'll give you an example for rhinoplasty. Rhinoplasty, my ultra-close rhinoplasty, I just gave a talk on the American Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery on this technique, which is really a total preservation. In other words, now there is a technique called the dorsal preservation, where you take the dorsum as is and 1 unit and you move it down, which is a mini invasive technique, in my opinion, because the less you dissect, the less you do surgery, the better. But still, the tip is a big deal, and with the open rhinoplasty, it has to be open and dissected and this and that. While with my technique, I don't have really to open anything. I just do little incisions, and it's kind of the preservation equivalent of the dorsum. So most of my surgery are 45 minutes to an hour.
Whoa.
In noses, and I'm not hurrying up. And my facelift is another approach that is much, much less invasive than the deep plane, with all respect to people doing open rhinoplasty and deep plane. But here is my simple approach to facelift. If if my patient with 2 fingers can do this and get this part tightened, how can't I do it with surgery from here without opening that? It's as simple as that. If I can do this, then I am moving the face with what I call the mobility, the intrinsic mobility. I started this theory that the face has inside it a mobility that I can use to move the face without going all the way in. So I'm just introducing you to my ideas of looking at things. I have all respect for other techniques. Yes, I have great results, but I like to sleep at night better. And touching wood, I never had any even temporary paralysis. That's the truth. And I mean, never had to take a patient to the operating room for a bleeding, for example, from a facelift. And I do a lot of facelifts, and I do a lot of forehead lifts.
Does it last as long, your technique?
Well, if we get into that discussion, that's a big discussion.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is the more you dissect, the more the face swells up, the more you look good in the beginning, because the swelling is youth. The swelling is what gives the impression that the face has fat. Same thing for the nose. The nose can look good in the beginning. If even if there is some irregularities in the result, you won't see them in the beginning because of the swelling. So you ask me in 2 months, which one would look better? I think they would look probably the same. Maybe the deep plane will look better because it's more swollen. But if I look at 1 year to year, I believe I mean, I don't want to compare because I started deep plane in when Sam Hambra started the technique in 1990. And I abandoned it after 2 or 3 years and started my own. But again, they probably, I cannot judge, but they're probably equivalent. But if they're equivalent, even if my technique is a little less, I prefer the least possible surgery, the most mini invasive surgery possible. That's the way I look at things.
Then let's talk about your anesthesia techniques, because I think yours are a little different than normal. You're not doing general anesthesia, correct?
I'm not doing general anesthesia, and I do something called, it's a combination of local anesthesia with sedation with an electrode called the BIS.
Mm.
And this actually is not my technique, but I developed more of it. Like I got the idea from someone who was using it in general anesthesia, started using it in local. And basically, it's a type of electrode that you put over the forehead. And you can tell the level of sedation of the patient, meaning is the patient awake or a little awake or very deep on 100 level. Well, the usual thing is if you tap the patient and say, hey, wake up, and the patient reacts, that's okay. The patient is sleepy but reacting. If they doesn't react, he's deep. So this gives you more sophistication. And I have a combination of other things that kind of a little bit advanced to talk about here. But I find it's a very, in my mind, it's safer than general anesthesia. Again, nothing against general anesthesia, but the patient all the way during surgery is deep, feels nothing, but our alarm setting is put at 97% saturation. In other words, when the patient is 97%, the alarm goes on. And we have to stop and see, why isn't he 98? So it's a different approach. And I actually had a visit from the College of Physician and Surgeon of Quebec.
Oh,
Someone said, this guy is doing dangerous thing. And they came, a delegation with with the chief anesthetist and surgeon. They spend 2 days in the operating room, and they give us really a very nice letter saying that we have nothing to say about this. Everything is okay. Very unusual technique, but we will not stop it.
So is it catching on in Canada or no?
This technique?
Yeah.
No, this technique I don't show it to anybody. I mean, I keep it for myself.
Gotcha.
And actually, I was offered to give courses on it, but it's not an easy technique. And if anything happens, I'm responsible. So
yeah.
I keep it for myself.
I love that though as a differentiator, because not everybody wants general anesthesia. If you can, and you can regroup from it much faster too.
Well, it's true. And since you probably don't remember, but many years ago, you helped me in my practice, actually. Oh. Yeah, I know you don't remember, but I remember. And you helped me recruiting people and training them and so on. But I would say like 15 years ago or more, maybe. So basically, you asked me once a question about how you differentiate yourself. I mean, every one of us has to have something. Not many, but my big thing in my talks is natural results, which is, I'm obsessed with it. Like why a nose looks natural and why another nose doesn't look natural. And I started really taking it seriously, my Instagram and social media, only a year ago. Before that, Catherine, I had maybe on Instagram about 1,000 or 2 max. On TikTok, maybe 300. On Facebook, another 1,000. I mean, I had overall about 3,000. Today, I have 70,000 in 1 year, which is surprising to me.
Well, I checked out your social media and your Instagram is excellent. I was going to talk about that in a minute, but we'll talk about it now. You do it in Spanish. You do it in English and French.
Yeah.
And I think that's so great because do you have many, I don't know Canada well enough. Do people come in,
I live in the French part of Canada. So 70% of our practice is from where we are, from Montreal, Quebec, Ottawa, which is and Toronto. And Vermont from the US, which is on the border. 30% are from everywhere, Anglophones and from different countries, sometimes from the States, from different states, from different parts of Canada. So we need the English for 30%, I would say. And we need the French for the 70.
Well, I was so grateful when I visited there. I was so grateful that everybody spoke English because I don't speak French. I love listening to it.
Most people speak English.
Yeah.
But most people would like to be served in their own language. Some it's almost like California, say, if you are Hispanic, you want to be served in Hispanic, although you speak English.
Right. So let's talk about that viral video you had. Can you tell us about it?
Well, I had, I told you I started about 1 year ago. In 1 year, it was phenomenal. I mean, I never expected that, honestly, that it would be that big. And actually, from the first 2 months, I got 2 videos that made over 3 million views.
And what were they?
Which is very hard, by the way. It's crazy, and I'll tell you the story. So, I decided I'm going to talk. Before it was before and after. So one of my talks was, when you see it started, the video started, when you see a nose with 2 straight lines, perfect, and no hump, it's fake. It's fake. 5 million so far. Crazy, crazy, for no reason. So we had few, like we had maybe 5 or 6 who did that. And last week, Instagram is a tough cookie. Like you can't get usually more than 10,000, 15,000. And then I had a nice video that I always thought should do better. So I'm telling you the story because maybe some people will learn from that. About a nose job for a young man. It's like a video before rotating around his head and after. And it got like 10,000. I said, something is wrong. It should have gotten more. So I said to whoever is preparing my thumbnails and so on, just make it simple and put this bigger and so on and put it back. That was 10 days ago. The first day it made 500,000. And today, this morning, it was 5.5 million.
What did you do? How did you change it?
I just changed the thumbnail.
You changed the thumbnail. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you never know. This viral business, I mean, you got to be lucky. That's all.
Well,
So
I like your thumbnails because they're almost all videos, but you're saying before, I'm not willing to click on something that I don't know what I'm clicking on. So your thumbnails have great captions or great headlines in them. That was super clickable. I like that a lot.
Yeah, but again, the other one wasn't bad. It just, I don't know the mechanism of a viral post. I really don't. And I was I was overwhelmed with it. I would have been happy with 30,000, say, and we got this. It's inexplicable. So you do your best and you keep trying. But what I'm saying is, if you have a nice post and it doesn't do well, don't let it go. Take it, change a little bit, put it back.
Do you have a social media team helping you do this?
I have, I basically, yes, I have a team that helps with ideas and so on, but basically I decide, I have in my mind the main lines, which are, again, what I told you, I am concentrating on certain things, which is appearance and mini surgery, natural results and mini natural appearance and mini invasive. And sometimes no anesthesia, although I don't think that is major. But the people like, at least my patients, they like the natural thing and the least possible surgery. But again, I could be doing open rhinoplasty and concentrate on something else that my patients are happy and it's guaranteed to look to you better and you have less revision, whatever you choose to differentiate.
So tell me, how much time are you spending on social media? Because it is a time suck if you're the star.
Honestly, not much.
Really?
Not much. Not much. I practice with my patients. In other words, what I say in social media, I already practiced it with my patients. In other words, I'm basically in a consultation, I'm telling my patient why they should choose me, depending on the patient. Saying, I like this and I like that. I put emphasis on things. So when I talk in front of the camera, and also I give many talks, so I'm used to that. So I just talk. I really put some question, and I ask everybody to ask me questions. I mean, I have one lady and one gentleman. It's a company. It's PR company. They do social media, and I tried 3 or 4. It's very hard to get people who are smart and efficient and so on, especially since COVID. That we could talk about the challenges. So I just talk. I mean, I'm not on air, so I talk whatever. comes to my mind. I prepare very little. And then they put it together and it comes natural and people like it. I really, people shouldn't try to remember everything and try to choose the best word. That's the worst thing. It has to be like you're talking to someone. It shouldn't take long. Shouldn't take
Right,
long.
just talk like you normally do to a patient.
Exactly. People
Don't
love
get
it.
fancy with that. By the way, how do you get the patients to give you so many patient video testimonials? Those are golden in today's world. To get a video, not just a review, but get a patient to talk about you. Although they're speaking French, I don't know what they're saying, but they're adorable. They sound
No,
great.
the French are harder than the English
Oh dear.
to give their okay. Yeah. And the younger, the easier to get an okay.
That makes sense.
So the rule, the younger you are, the easier.
Mm-hmm.
And with some cultures, like the English culture, the North American English culture, is easier than the, say, the Middle Eastern or some minorities,
That makes
some
sense.
ethnic
But how do you
groups.
go about asking them? Do you have a process for this? Are you asking? Is the staff asking?
I'll tell you my secret.
Yes, please.
I don't myself, never, never. If you ask them yourself, number one, they think, is he desperate or what? Number two, you're intimidating. They hesitate. You talk about big things and then, okay, can I do that? They think, what's behind it? I basically ask my assistants. I leave them from day one, from the day they signed up for the surgery. They say, would you mind? Because it would help. This is a good line. Because your case could help other people like you. Didn't you look at his testimonials and so on before your surgery? Yeah. It and that and hope and if they say no, they say, okay, I make a deal with you. If you get a great result, would you let him? So that works. Because he said, you promised me
I think the pearl is you ask them early in the journey and don't
early,
like sandbag
and
them.
if they say no, okay, if they say no, you say, okay, the girl tell the because they have I have very nice assistants actually, and they're very warm and well chosen. So they tell the patient, okay, promise, if you get a great result, would you reconsider? They say yes. Believe it or not, many people remember that and say, you promised me. I said, okay, I'll sign.
Yeah,
It works.
love it. No, I love that. So are you getting business from it?
Of course,
How do you know?
I'll tell you something that would surprise you. You see, I like to give you surprising stuff. TikTok is booming, and it would probably, in my opinion, cross Instagram eventually.
Eventually, probably.
Yes.
Unless they ban it. They're talking about banning it.
Because I do statistics and I follow. Instagram is still strong with Facebook, but according to our statistics from calls, because everyone who calls, we get where he's calling from, who referred him. And TikTok is not, even with adults, it's crazy. We get people for facelift, say, from TikTok, which is surprising.
Wow. Yeah.
But I had already a big practice. And I have my daughter who works with me, who is very, very busy. So we have very big practice.
So would you, because I would think you would be more word of mouth, but like how much of your business is word of mouth versus social or versus advertising? Are you doing any advertising or SEO?
No, no, I used to when I was younger, but the game changed. The game rules changed. 20 years ago, it was yellow pages, it was word of mouth, it was because you didn't have. Now I think social media is number one without a doubt. Yes, of course, word of mouth, of course, but word of mouth would be confirmed by social media. In other words, the mother tell her daughter, I heard Fanous is a good surgeon. I saw my friend's daughter, she is great. The first thing her daughter would do is not take that word of mouth for granted. She will go on my website, she will go on my social media and check. So even word of mouth is not the final word anymore. It's just, it still gets you to social media.
Well, you want to verify what you hear. I do it all the time. The minute somebody says someone's name, I Google them, and then I go into their
Google review helps too. Although some people, some possibly competitors or whoever, can use it. We had a problem a few years ago with fake reviews coming from out of North America, actually from.
We had a big problem here.
They are better now, Google, with it, but I mean, people would go to Google review and mostly to social media to confirm whether they will go to you or not.
Right.
I think so.
Right. But I want to go, you used to get a lot of media, PR and media. Is that still, I don't know, a viable marketing channel, or are you better off just being your own media on?
Okay, I'll tell you, I started over 25 years ago, my practice, but about 17 years ago, I got an anchor, a very famous lady. She had in French TV, and she went to see other doctors and then came to me at the fourth and to choose. And my approach was very different to her, and I was the only one who suggested the forehead. And she actually left saying, no, I'm not touching my forehead, stuff like that. But she ended up coming back, and she warned me, you know what? I would be photographed before, I would be photographed after. If ever anything happened to me, you'll be in big trouble. Are you sure? Because you have to sign. And I said, okay, in life you have to take chances, but that was a big chance. And I said, I'm taking it back because I knew of her. And if once people knew that she came to me, are you serious? Look, about the power of media. She did a special for an hour. I wasn't there on that special. It was like 2 months after. For 1 hour, she was talking about her facelift experiences.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, that TV thing got me. I mean, the phones in our office did not stop for a year.
Yep.
We actually had to hire people to answer phones. That was the power of media 15 years ago. I guarantee you today, if this program is aired today, it would probably, the impact would last a week, no more.
Yeah.
Because people don't watch TV. So this is the difference. So I wouldn't worry about going on TV, and it really won't make, unless you are on the New York Times first page or on CNN or something for a major interview, but local media, yes, for a week.
But you can also create your own media nowadays, or your own PR. Tell me how you got the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal.
I have no idea.
Oh, really? It sounded really impressive. Yeah.
It is impressive.
Yeah.
They said that they did some research, and they said who has, because at one point I was doing some charitable work and so on. I don't want to get into that. It could have been that. And I was traveling to operate in other places, but mostly for human rights and so on. I was involved. I happened to be a Christian Egyptian, and at one point there were some problems, and I helped in that respect. So human rights and so on. But I was very surprised because I got it for
congratulations
services for services to Canada. So I don't know exactly what services, but I'm very happy I got it.
That's great. Congratulations. So the last time I saw you, you gave this killer talk, And I really want to have some time with that. So the talk was called Difficult Patients and Dangerous Employees, the 20 Crucial Rules for Self-Preservation. Can you just sum it up a bit? But it was excellent. What are some of the main pearls out of that?
I won't be able to give you all of it, but actually I have three. I mean, if anyone interested, I'm not gaining anything out of it. But if anyone interested in knowing more about this, I will be giving these talks in the November global meeting in Miami.
Yep,
It's
I'll be
a
there.
it's a the GAC meeting, which
Yep.
is probably the biggest meeting of facial plastic surgery nowadays. Uh, but I would give you maybe 2 or 3 ideas.
Okay.
So, first of all, let us say about patients. I'm sure that all the surgeons in this podcast and everyone working in this field, whether it's you or others, are realizing that patients have changed.
Yes.
Patients are not as easy as before. I don't know what happened. I suspect COVID and staying alone did something, but they are much, much more demanding, much, much more obsessed, uh, not easy to please, want it all, and they think they can get it all. And that takes a lot of finesse and patience. But they are, in my opinion, getting more dangerous. And here is my number one advice for self-protection. I gave that talk actually 7 months ago, and I asked people, what do you think would protect you the most uh, against, from being sued by patients? Good work, listening, stuff like that. No, it's not. The most important thing you have to put in mind, whether it's for patients, whether it's for colleagues can hurt you, but staff too can turn against you. We are not in the 70s and 60s and 80s where people had respect, had rules, the society had obligations. It was honorable not to do this and dishonorable to do that. No, now, in my opinion, everyone is for himself or herself. So the number one advice that I could give people listening to you now is assume the patient or your assistant is carrying a hidden camera. You think I'm exaggerating? No, no. And I'll tell you even that I created that rule about 7, 8 years ago, and I give it in many conferences. But one patient taped without me knowing, but because it's in my head, and she started asking questions, trying to show me as aggressive, racist, stuff like that. But I played with my words, and she used it in court, and she lost. Thanks to that. So this is a big problem now.
The
I need
video
to
helped
talk
you
to.
and hurt her?
Pardon?
The video helped you but hurt her?
No, it didn't help me, but it didn't help her because I was okay. She would say, "You told me that she was dark in skin," and she said, "Not Black American, but South American, and not African American." And she said, and she had actually very nice results, honestly, but in her head, she wanted smaller than this. She had thick skin. And she kept saying, but she said the black skin is hard. Black skin is not as good as white skin and stuff like that. And if I wasn't aware, I would say, yes, of course, I prefer to have white skin, operating on white skin for a better result or something like that. Or I could get upset with her. I say, I mean, I don't care. You can go to hell, whatever. If you lose your temper. So nowadays, I think you really have to be careful, and you can't trust anybody, unfortunately. You can't trust even your assistants because, and I'll tell you about how to protect yourself from that. But this is my rule number one. You are an actor on live TV all day, and you cannot whisper, my dear colleague, you cannot whisper and think you are okay. That's it. You want to whisper to yourself. That's it. Camera. You are on camera. And that's your only hope, not to get caught, not to be put in a dangerous situation, not for someone. I'm sure if I would have said one wrong word to her, she would have blackmailed me. Same thing for patients who flirt with you or who aggress you or anything that would get you upset or excited or impulsive. No, forget that. So that's my rule number one.
That's good tip.
That's for patients to protect yourself. And my one of the I told you I have many rules, but I'll tell you another one. I call it the 1 minute rule. So the 1 minute rule is, again, it's assuming that you are on camera. So you have to, what can get you into trouble in court? You didn't tell the patient about the risks and you didn't explain it to her. Well, take 1 minute, exactly. It's a 1 minute rule. You have to have a template for every surgery. A template, meaning you know it by heart. It's 1 minute where you explain that surgery. And then another minute where you put the risk. You know how many risks you can put in 1 minute? A lot, but you have to know it by heart. You don't say infection and maybe, no. You have to you have to be legally conscious. In other words, you have to get the word one after the other. No explanation. Infection, bleeding, anesthesia problem, scarring, loss of sensation, loss of movement, etc. I have 4 basic risks that I start with. You can write them down. Anybody who's listening: infection, bleeding, anesthesia problem, scarring. These are the universal 4 risks. And then you add according to if it's a nose, you add necrosis, you add asymmetry, you add 5, 6, 7 things. If it's a facelift, you add loss of sensation, loss of movement, blah, blah, blah. It takes you less than 1 minute. All what you need is 2 minutes. And that protects you. So that's one of the rules.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge of running a practice in today's world?
Patience and finding the right staff.
Yeah.
Demanding patience and finding the right staff.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. And I normally ask, tell us something interesting about you that we don't know. But this time I want to do something different because we were at another conference where you gave a keynote presentation, and this was called Universal Rules of Life and Happiness. Can you please give us a recap of that?
Okay. So this very quickly. I teach in McGill, at McGill University. And a few years ago, like maybe 15 years ago, one of the residents said, I don't know what to do with my time. Can you help us? Can you tell us? You're always organized and you seem like you do a lot and you're never busy. I said, okay, I'll give you a talk about how to organize your time. So I had my own rules for my kids. And they knew it by heart. All my little rules in life that I actually had, I kept repeating for me. So I gave them this. It was a big success. And then they start telling me, can you tell us more? I said, okay. I give them like 5 more rules. And then again, it became a success. So I ended up giving it at one conference maybe 6 years ago. And people came to me and said, oh, actually, I was giving these rules in one conference, and it was a round table, and people will not let me go down the stadium. They wanted the next one and the next one. And
how many are
Waldman was the panel moderator, and he kept telling me, but we have other people that need to, no, we want number 5. Anyway, I finally wrote a book, and I was very lucky to get Simon and Schuster to take
Oh
it
my
and
God,
distribute it in the
that's
US.
big
So it's in
time.
every Barnes and Noble now. And that was it. I published it about a year and a half ago. And actually, so far, it has been printed in 4 languages. Yesterday was the Russian language print. It would be, in a week, it would be the Spanish. The French came out. I
English?
already signed for 3 other German and 2 other languages.
Do
So
we have
it's
English?
doing very well. And I also have my own channel on
Oh,
YouTube for the rules.
good for you. Wait, is the book in English?
The book is in English and French, and I wrote it in English,
All right.
and then I wrote it in French because my French is as good as my English.
By the way, how
And
many
then
languages do you speak?
I speak 3 languages. My original language is Egyptian, and but I left many years ago. I left when I was quite young, and I speak English and French. And French is it's a little better than my English in terms of language, but pretty close.
Good for you. Back to the book. Is there a Kindle version?
There is a Kindle version,
Then I'll buy it
and there is
tonight.
an audio version.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
just give us one of the rules?
Okay, I'll give you rule number 1. Rule number 1 it's called the Universal Rules of Life: 27 Secrets of Managing Time, Stress, and People.
Oh,
So
okay.
rule number 1 is do it now, perfect it later. Stop the I will habit. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, ask once for what you want, and you will get it 50% of the time, which is true, by the way.
Versus
That's rule number 2.
not asking, or versus like hemming and hawing, or hoping somebody.
No, asking. You go into a restaurant and you choose, I do it all the time. I do it all the time. You just ask. Amazing. You go into any place, you go to a restaurant, they take you to a table and you look around and you choose the absolute best table. And you say, can I have this table there? Your chances are 50% that will say yes. But I do that all the time. Just a simple, nice question. Can I do this? And I'll tell you something. My patients sometimes do that to me. Can you give me a discount? I usually say yes.
Ask and you shall receive.
So and then I'll give you my last rule for the night, which is the rule number 10, which say your number 1 goal in life is happiness. The 4 indispensable secrets of being happy or staying happy. And the 4 secrets are: number 1, working and keeping busy.
For sure.
Number 2, having exciting expectations, looking for the future. Number 3, staying healthy. And number 4, having a network of friends and family. These are, to my mind, the 4 secrets of happiness.
I struggle with that because the work part, there's not a lot of time. I guess I need to read your book. Yeah, I spend way too much time on work versus relationships. It's been a problem forever. Yeah, I'll work on that.
You have to go to my rule number 6.
Okay.
About how to the 3 secrets of time management, which are eliminate it, delegate it, or shrink it. That's rule number 6.
So true. So true. All right, I'm going to get that book tonight. It's called Universal Rules of Life and Happiness by Nabil Fanous.
And if you want my opinion, the actual book, it's worth getting the actual book because it was printed in Japan, actually. I insisted, one of the things I insisted, I wanted a very nice finish of the book. So it doesn't look like a regular book. It looks like a geography textbook or something. It's beautifully done, and it has a resume or a summary at the end, all in color.
Okay.
So if the book is like $25 in in Barnes and Noble. It's worth
I think I
buying.
can swing that. Okay. All right. I
Compared
haven't
to,
been
say,
to a
the
bookstore for a
usual
year,
bag.
so I will have to go have to figure
Or
that out.
Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Right. I'm an Amazon kind of person. Dr. Fanous, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking the time. And if
Thank
anybody
you.
wanted to talk to you, your website is dr-nfanos.com. So it's dr-nfanos.com, right? Is there any other
Yeah,
way to
but
get a hold of you?
easier Instagram. Instagram is my name, Dr. Nabil Fanous. Actually, all Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the rest, it's just my name, Dr. Nabil Fanous.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much. Everybody,
It's a
that's
pleasure.
wrap it up for us today. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, please do me a favor and give me a good review and subscribe to Beauty and the Biz so you don't miss any episodes coming up. And if you've got any questions or feedback for me, you can certainly leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at catherinemaley.mba. Thanks so much, and we will talk again soon.
The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.